Now, Amnesty International is calling on political parties and candidates contesting the upcoming general election to ensure that human rights are upheld. Millions of registered voters are expected to cast their ballot on the 29th of May in what is believed to be a hotly contested election, the most hotly contested election since the dawn of democracy. Let's unpack the story further. We're joined now by Genevieve Quintal, who is from Amnesty International South Africa. Genevieve, it's great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on to the program. And Amnesty International is not only calling for this, right? The organization has its human rights manifesto, which I understand only one party has signed.
Absolutely, Michelle, and good afternoon. Thanks for having me. So, yes, we sent out our Human Rights Manifesto, which is basically we have presented 10 issues crucial for political parties and candidates to commit to ensure that all rights of all people are upheld. And I think these are things that we all know about, that we grapple with in this country, whether it's high rates of gender-based violence, the quality of education, the rights or the access to clean water, the right to life. They're 10 major issues. And like I said, we have sent these to political parties along with a pledge, asking them, will you pledge to uphold these human rights if you make it into the next administration of government? And I guess this goes for any political party who takes up a seat in parliament. We have two strands to this whole campaign. So we have this Human Rights Manifesto, which is aimed at political parties. But then we're also asking the electorate to also have a look at this manifesto and to put human rights at the center of when making their decision of who to vote for. We're not saying who they must vote for. We don't want to tell people we are non-partisan. We're not getting into this stream of politics, but we're asking people to take their own pledge as well. So we have two pledges: a pledge for citizens to take as well, to say, I pledge to put human rights at the center of my decision of who I vote for. And it goes both ways. We need everyone on board to ensure that we move forward as a country. As you know, it's 30 years since the end of apartheid. While we've made important progress since 1994, there's still a lot of issues in our country that need to be sorted out.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the list here in front of me, Genevieve, and I was going to ask you whether it is in order of importance. I see that tackling the high levels of gender-based violence is first on the list, but if you go further down the list, climate change, the right to life, freedom of expression, the right to education, right to water for all, it really isn't in order of any kind of importance, right? Because all of these issues are so incredibly important.
Absolutely, Michelle. I mean, I think, and a lot of them are so intrinsically linked. I mean, the right to safe, reliable water, the right to health care, we can all link that to the right to life, the right to freedom of expression. And that doesn't only go for the media and it goes for citizens as well, having that right to access to information. And that's also a big important part of elections. You have a right to credible information and information that helps you make an informed decision of what is the right way for you to vote as a citizen. And again, I'm saying we're not trying to tell people who to vote for. This is by no means. But for you to, if you've got all the correct information and credible information, you as a voter can make that informed decision that takes the country forward. And so that's also a big aspect of this campaign for us, is making sure people have that information.
Yeah, that's really what I like about this list, is that it does give you, because we're in a country that faces so many different and difficult challenges, this list give you a sense of some of the big issues and a sense to sort of hone in on where, if you're considering political party A, B, or C, where they stand on these three big issues, and can help you make an informed decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it also, we've got to think of it that maybe you do have access for water in your house. Maybe you do have a running tap in your house. I know I've got a running tap in my house. I have no problem filling a glass with water at home. But not everyone has that right. And if we want everyone to have access to human rights, we know there are, I think it's 3 million households in this country do not have access to water, to clean, reliable running water. So, there's so many things within this manifesto that either I think people can relate to personally, but also can relate to in terms of looking at where our country is and also doing a reflection of what's happened the last 30 years and where do we want to go the next 30 years. We hear a lot of people saying this is a pivotal moment for the country. I think it is. 30 years, I think we're moving into a new era, and we need to push the country forward. And as Amnesty International South Africa, we truly believe that by putting human rights at the center of it, we can get there. But it also comes down to implementing. So that's where the pledge comes in for political parties. If you pledge, if you will uphold these human rights, it's something that we can also hold them to account to, saying, but you signed this. You said that you will ensure that there's quality healthcare. You said you would ensure that there's running water for people. Why has this not happened, or why has this happened? It's also a tool for accountability, and accountability is such an important thing. And I think we speak about it a lot, Michelle. We speak about it as Amnesty International. I know you guys speak about it as journalists, as the media, and we need to keep calling for accountability. And this is a tool that we can use.
Yeah, absolutely. So why only one political party so far signing this pledge, Genevieve? Is this the first time that Amnesty International South Africa has taken this kind of step in the run-up to an election here in South Africa?
So firstly, yes, it is the first time we've taken this kind of step. Amnesty International is a non-partisan organization. We're independent of any government, political ideology, economic interest, religion, you name it. We are neutral. But what we decided with this, that it wasn't about the political party, but it was about human rights. And human rights transcends politics. And I think that's important to understand. So we decided, this year, 30 years, we're going to throw our voice out there on this issue and make sure that human rights is at the center. In terms of why only one political party has signed, I don't know. Look, we are engaging with them. We have emailed. We are WhatsApping. We want to meet political parties as well. We're open to have we're open to have open discussions with them about these issues. So hopefully with this campaign, with more and more people taking the pledge, we're hoping that more pressure gets put on political parties to take the pledge and say, yes, I do stand for human rights. So we'll see this is a campaign that takes us right up to election, so we'll keep updating, and hopefully we see more political parties take the pledge. On our campaign website, we have a tracker, so you can actually see who's taken the pledge, and like I said, right now, it's only one.
And perhaps, Genevieve, in 2024, given the state not only of our country, but of our world, even for organizations like Amnesty International, it's not as easy, but it's not as simple as to say that you are a non-partisan organization. It makes me think of Doctors Without Borders calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza some weeks ago. It's a step that they've taken only twice since the organization's inception. And it's a step that's taken at a time of great necessity. Is that how Amnesty International feels about this manifesto as well, particularly for South Africa, 30 years into democracy?
Absolutely, Michelle. I think as the world is changing, as and I think we've said it before, that especially after COVID, we saw more and more human rights violations actually. And as the world keeps changing, and we're seeing actually things in a way getting worse. And so in times like this, if we want to see change, it takes a bit of bravery. And sometimes it's getting out of our comfort zone and saying things or getting involved in maybe ways that we wouldn't. So absolutely, as the world changes, activism has to change. The way we advocate for things has to change. And that's what we're doing. We need to move with the time. And a big thing for us is people power. That's really something we want to focus on. It doesn't help that we just, as an organization, stand on the sidelines and send out press releases and say these things. We need the people to be invested. We need the people to act. And so we want to put the power in the hands of the people. And that's such a big part of our campaigning, is to ensure that the electorate, the people are living in South Africa, have the tools to ensure that their human rights are upheld. And we want to help facilitate that.
Yeah, and to hold those in power accountable. Genevieve, Quintal, let me thank you for your time. Amnesty International, South Africa.